Little by little, I'm building a business for myself, one business card at a time. Yes, it does get a little hopeless sometimes, but and there have been times when I've cried. There was one time. This is a really hopeful thing to say. I got really desperate day before yesterday, and I went to the Lord, and I started bawling, and I was like, Lord, please just give me some encouragement. I know you've given me enough money to tide me over for a while, and I'm so grateful for it. It's kind of scary having a job, and if you would just give me some hope, please just give me some hope. And I lay there bawling into the pillow and thought, this is just not doing me any good. So I decided to get up and dry the tears and do something constructive. And the minute I entered another room in my little apartment, the phone rang. And it was a woman who had picked up one of my business cards at a doctor's office. And she was inquiring about my services. And so that is God's goodness. It hasn't come to fruition quite yet, but that is God's goodness. I begged him for hope, and as soon as I got off that bed, he gave me hope. And so this is I have a dear friend who has really, y'all would not believe what she's borne with the last 3 years. And one of the first things that she would say to me when I went to Florida to hang with some friends there for a few weeks after everything fell apart, she would say, think of it as an adventure. Think of it as an adventure. You're having an adventure. And I would be like, no, I'm not having an adventure. My life is falling apart and I'm in desperate circumstances. And are you out of your mind? What are you talking about adventures? I don't want to hear this. It's an adventure. It's a real adventure. And this today was a really positive thing because I haven't had my printer very long. And God had been really good to me. There is a printing office supply, homegrown, home-owned office supply in the little town in which I live. And for probably going on a year, they've been printing up my business cards, and they have this graphic artist. You would not believe what she does. It is just incredible. And I did kind of develop one little card, and I'm like, no, hers just looks so beautiful and so professional. I may just shell out the money and go to the printing company. But yeah, it is an adventure because I got out with those cards and I went to businesses that I've never gone to before, and I went to the Chamber of Commerce and I talked for a really long time there with the lady who seems to run the place, and she had some really wonderful suggestions. So I got to meet new people. I got to go to spas. I got to go to doctor's offices. I got to go to investment companies and hand out my cards. And last year God had given me a set of really nice clear hard plastic business card holders, and I had most of that box left from last year. And I just went ahead and I was, my attitude was kind of like, well, Lord, you've given this to me. I've already paid for it. The money I've spent's been absorbed anyway. I might as well just be lavish with all of this stuff. And I was. And I got to meet new people. I got to talk to people who shared their background, their experiences. You know, that, oh, why didn't you come in before? Because I know this lady who broke her hip, and, you know, just scenarios like that. So I'm really hoping that the Lord blesses these cards. And of course I do pray every time I take my cards and my flyers out. I pray that God will bless each and every one of them. Just because someone can't use my services does not mean that they don't know of someone who can. Now, I have taken kind of a departure. When I get into circumstances like this, I kind of start flipping all kinds of wacky different ideas about how I can try to make ends meet. Even when I had steady full-time jobs, I would do this. And I've come up with some pretty interesting ideas. And this one particular friend I mentioned earlier, she had mentioned, well, you know, you might even go into dog grooming. That would be a really great thing for you to do. You could go into dog grooming. So I found out that one of the pet stores here in our little town is actually offering on-the-job training for grooming. And yes, I do understand that they expect you to work for them for at least a little while. They're training you. They expect certain things out of you. I got really excited about that because I love animals. I don't know if I've ever confided, but at one time, my family owned, oh my soul, we had a little mini farm in the South Valley of Albuquerque, and yeah, I'll have to go. We ran the whole gamut pretty much. We had all kinds of animals on that little mini farm, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so I'm like, yeah, you're right. I could really look into that. Well, I got into the cold, hard, stark reality of that kind of work. And I have to say, it sounds like it's kind of like being a CNA or a PCT for animals. Because I knew, of course, that it would be hard on the body. I knew that. But when I read the information on how, you know, the impact that kind of work has on your body, it was a little bit discouraging. It really was. I had already considered the repetitive movement, which is really hard on my neck and my shoulders. And I thought, well, you know, I can work through that. I have to work through a lot of pain as a healthcare provider, so could work through that. But my hat is off to these people because I had never considered the prevalence of burnout in that profession, and it does make sense. It does make sense for a number of reasons. So I began to look at, if you will, the logistics of being a career pet groomer, and it was like, wow, that's as hard a life as I'm already leading in healthcare. I might reconsider that. And then I think I had mentioned that I had already filled out my paperwork for the community college, that I had pretty much decided, even though I was so broke, to do the CNA classes over there, which I think would be hugely beneficial to me. It never hurts to have another certification under your belt. However, money is very tight right now for obvious reasons. As a CNA, you have to have documented work under the supervision of a nurse in order to keep your CNA. Now, I understand that people are not as familiar with the term patient care technician as they are certified nurse assistant. They're both pretty much the same thing, except that a patient care technician is trained more clinically, and a PCT's education is much more comprehensive. Much more comprehensive. It's a lot more even brutal in some aspects. So I'm not knocking the CNAs. I've worked as a CNA. I know how difficult it is. But the PCTs do have a more comprehensive, clinically geared education than a CNA. CNA is educated more for long-term care. PCTs are educated for acute care. So there's a huge difference there. Do they do pretty much the same thing? Yes, they do. But they're trained for different environments. So I've really prayed about this. And I have even started saying, God doesn't seem to think it's so important for me to get my CNA as I do. Because every time I get a chance to do this, it bombs out. It bombs out. And one of the reasons I prefer the PCT is because you don't have to work as a PCT in order to retain your title and your certification. You don't have to work at all as a PCT in order to retain your title and your certification. You are perfectly legal as a PCT, even if you're not working. With a CNA, it's different. Now, my understanding is in the state where I live, you have to have at least 8 hours of work under the supervision of an RN in order to maintain your certification. In order to keep up to date, you have to have that 8 hours, which to me is a little bit ridiculous. So, I'm really praying that God blesses me in the private pay, private contracting, home health care. It's much easier for me to go on the basis of that PCT than it is as a CNA, because it's going to cost me at the very least $600 to do the classes. And don't misunderstand me, that's very inexpensive, but to me it's not, especially right now. So it's like, yeah, I might not do that. I might not go that route, because what I can do is I can find work as a caregiver with my PCT. I can find work as a PCT. Are there a lot of openings for PCTs right now? None in my area that I can find, which is kind of scary. However, my idea is that I can print up information from the internet explaining what a PCT is for potential clients. People are just not familiar with the term patient care technician unless they've been in the hospital. They don't understand what that is. So that's kind of my idea at this point. I have my paperwork filled out for the college. All I have to do is take it in there. But the more I consider the reality of my financial situation, the less enthusiastic I become about it, because I already have that education. So I'm just praying that God will guide me and direct me. The classes don't start until the 18th, so I've got a little while. And also, another thing that I wanted to tell everybody about is the fact that I stopped in the Chamber of Commerce on the advice of my next door neighbor. I was so grateful. And she told me about these brunches that the Chamber of Commerce has every single month. And you don't have to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce to attend those brunches and introduce yourself to the community. So I stopped in the Chamber of Commerce, and the lady who ran the place was just so interested and so helpful. And she strongly advised that I attend that next brunch, which is on the 14th. So I'm looking at everything the Chamber of Commerce can do for their people. This one Chamber of Commerce serves the entire eastern portion of the state that I live in. So it's like, oh my soul. And I don't have a problem. If I get enough pay, I don't have a problem driving. if I get enough pay. Also, I can get the mileage back on my taxes. So God is just offering me a lot of different ways that I can go. And I know that to the few people to whom I am very close, I'm sure they think I've completely lost my mind, that I'm going here, that I'm going there, that, God, I'm kind of in a squirrel cage with all of these ideas. But hey, that's life. But I'm encouraged, because while I have not heard from the potential clients that I talked to the other day, or rather with her family, I haven't given up. Just because you don't hear something does not mean that they're not going to call tomorrow. And so they had mentioned that they would kind of like to run me through my paces on a Sunday. But I will say this. I went into Docs and tweaked the agreement for my clients, and I made it sound much more mutual, in that, hey, the client has these rights too. If I have the right to be sick and take the day off, then the client has a right to say, hey, I'm sick of you, don't come in today. Whatever. We have these, most of these rights are mutual rights that we're signing off on. However, I am finding, and I've tried to make it sound as forgiving and to express the mutuality repeatedly of this agreement, but I'm finding that people are intimidated by the agreement. And one person even suggested, lawsuit. And it's like, no, I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with it. This is a set of boundaries so that each of us will have a professional understanding of what we can expect of each other. But for some reason that's very difficult for me to understand, people seem intimidated by that. And when they hear that there's an agreement that I'd like for them to sign, they seem to find that that's very off-putting. And why, I can't really explain, but they do. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, I feel that as a private contractor, especially in the healthcare field, that it's very necessary for me to have these agreements in place signed by both parties, so that in case something does happen, both parties will understand mutual responsibility in whatever matter. So we'll see where all of that goes. And again, I don't know if I had mentioned to everybody that when I served the husband with divorce papers, I don't think it was quite that early in the game. I think it was when I got back from Florida that it was, because I got references from people that I had worked for out in Florida. So it was after I got back from Florida that I opened an account with care.com. And at the time, I was really not very impressed with care.com. Now, I know that my elder daughter had great success with it. She put up her profile, and then she got kind of worried about it, and she took it down, and then in a couple of days she took it back up. I guess she revamped it or something, and within 24 hours she got a response, and she worked with that family for years. Yeah, I think she worked for them for a couple of years. So it turned out to be a really good thing for her. But for me, 3 years ago, it wasn't doing a dad blank thing for me. And that could have been very much my fault, because at that time, I had no technological skills whatever. And so as the years have gone by, especially starting my YouTube channel, thank the Lord, I've become much more relaxed with technology, and I do understand that if I don't understand, I can always pick up my phone and Google, what do I do about this? And usually I can, the Lord allows me to struggle through whatever the issue is. So, anyway, I actually, and I was delighted that care.com has a number that you can call. And when I called the number, I was even more delighted to see that you can actually talk to a human being. And she was a nice human being, and she was a helpful human being. And I was just this is wonderful. And the opportunities, there are so many more opportunities on care.com than I would have imagined. Because when I first started 3 years ago, it did not seem like the opportunities were out there through that venue that are out there now. And I was very encouraged. Were they offering a little less than what I wanted? Yes, they were. But hey, when you're unemployed, you're kind of taking what you can get. So, and God knows what He's doing. God knows what He's doing, even if I don't. So, they told me that my background check will be completed on the 10th, I think they said. And so then I can start picking up work then. I mean, assuming people want me. So that was extremely encouraging, because I saw a lot of good opportunities on there that it was like, Lord, I can't do this now. I have to wait. So it's a season of, it's not like I'm not working, because I'm out there working on my own business, my home health business, and I'm here working on my content creation. I should have written my books and my pamphlets. My books and my workbooks today. Sorry, people, the allergies have kicked in. But that didn't happen. And one of the reasons for that is that I'm not really discouraged about the workbook. I'm discouraged about the stories. I'm just so discouraged about the stories. I gave one of my friends an incomplete draft and asked for their thoughts on it, and one of them said, "That's dark, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere good." And that's the way I felt about it too. That's why I gave it to them, to see if that's how they felt about it, and they just confirmed my fears. So I don't really know where this is going. I have felt such a conviction that I needed to tell these stories, and one of them I think will sell anyway. The other one, I just don't know. I just don't know. And yes, that is the book about the dog. So, and that seems, I'm sorry, it's sad. So I just don't know where I should go with that. On the upside, I loved her so much. I just loved her so very much. You can tell almost 30 years later, I still do. So anyway, I didn't want to end on a sad note, because God is good. And I've got one client, and she did call me up and ask me to take her to the big city for a doctor's appointment on Monday, and I will make at least $100 on that. So that's very, very welcome. As far as the mileage is concerned, I would be surprised if she did not offer me the mileage. But I can reclaim that on the taxes, and she doesn't go to the city very often. She goes like once a month, and that's not going to kill me. I go that often, so that's fine. But anyway, I just wanted to keep everybody up to date on what was going on and how I was coping with this season of not necessarily inactivity, but certainly waiting to see what God's will is. And you know, I'm not going to say that I'm afraid. I do get discouraged sometimes. I do cry sometimes, but it's like I said, I've already seen what He's done. And so I know this is leading somewhere, and I know that He's got a handle on it, even if I don't. So, yeah, I hope that was of some interest to everybody. This is an interesting place to be. It's an interesting place to be as far as my faith is concerned, because the last time I was in this place, I was not in a really bad place when I moved into my little apartment. But after all was said and done, I had $800 left, because as soon as I got moved in, not having any dental insurance, I had to go down to Community Dental, and they only charge half of the basic charges on what they do. So I had to have 2 teeth pulled. And I forgot. Now I remembered that one tooth was crowned, but I forgot that it was a root canal. That was an experience, that was. I thought they were going to have to go in there with a hammer and a chisel. And so it lasted forever. And when I got back, I had $800 in my savings left. I was hysterical. I was hysterical. And I had a job. I was PRN at that time. And I was making good money PRN. Now, it was that month that the bonuses stopped, that the SLIs stopped. And later on that month, that added to my depression. But, you know, not even a year and a half later, because it was August a year ago, so a year and a half later, the Lord's given me enough that I can ride for 2 months before I get desperate. So God is good, and this is just, it's an interesting place to be, and I'm hoping everybody's enjoying sharing it with me, because I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going and what God is going to do. So anyway, give me your comments, and always please like, subscribe, and share, because I'm going to be honest with you. When it's pleasant, I enjoy taking care of people. I love taking care of people. I was telling one of the ladies, she's a very independent lady, and she wasn't interested in this at all. But I was telling her that I used to have clients that, were really fragile.
Address and search bar. Edit text.
What?
Toolbar.
What are you doing? You're on my computer. No wonder it's talking to me. Honestly. So anyway, Jasper's sitting on my computer keyboard over there. I was telling her that some of my clients and I used to have spa days. We'd really have spa days. We would do the whole hair, facial, fingernail, feet. You know, I had this one client, she loved to take bubble baths, and I know they're not healthy, but she had to have her bubble baths. And on these spa days, I'd help her in and out of her bubble bath, and we would do all of that, and we would do the whole makeup thing. And I love that. I love that. but it's not always pleasant. And when it's not pleasant, it's very difficult. And I'm not young anymore. And so I'm going to be honest with you, the content creation is really where I want to go. So give me your thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts on whether or not you feel like I've got what it takes to move to the content creation, because I gotta say, this one book, and maybe I should share a little bit more of it and see what everybody thinks. It's got me stumped. I've kind of given it a rest, because it's like I just don't know if this needs to go on. So anyway, thank you all. I appreciate it. It wasn't a rant, but y'all have borne with me, and I am most grateful. And I may be seeing you again tomorrow. Thanks, guys.